the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Tennessee and Georgia takes here. So I don't know if I irritated you yesterday when I was sending you the updates of what was going on with the Georgia Bulldogs. Your team, the Georgia Bulldogs, Matt Green. They take care of business against UT Martin, a team that the University of Tennessee smoked a year ago by a bigger margin, had less problems with a year ago than what we saw from this group. Ty Simpson's father, I believe, coaches those Skyhawks, backup 5-star quarterback at Alabama, if I recall correctly. But Matt Green, a lot of talk about Carson Beck's play, a lot of talk about Mike Bobo, a lot of Georgia fans just going through just all kinds of emotions after winning back-to-back national titles and seeing some uneasiness, seeing some growing pains on this offense. The thing that stuck out to me just going through this with Georgia is I jotted down, it was 7-0 Georgia with 4 minutes left in the first half. And I understand they stayed vanilla, a lot of base stuff. Kirby's not going to show a bunch of new wrinkles and all this stuff. You can still blow out a team in the first half if you're Georgia and not unload all what you're going to do. There is something to be said where it's not time to hit the panic button, but to be up 7-0 with 4 minutes left in the first half against UT Martin when you're Georgia. And the thing about Georgia now has to understand is they're in a different world. They're judged differently. You're one of the 3 premier programs in the sport. Like you have Bama and Ohio State have a different level of talent than everybody else, generally speaking, over the last 5 years. So you're judged differently. When Ohio State struggles to put Iowa away, they are judged, or Indiana away, they're judged differently. If Alabama did not take care of business against Middle Tennessee State, they're judged differently. If Jalen Milroe doesn't ball out, they're looked at differently. It's just the nature of the beast, and I think Georgia fans are starting to feel it now, where it's like, we're under the microscope, and us struggling even a little bit on offense or showing any signs of weakness is going to be pinpointed of like, have we found the chink in the armor? Have we found the thing that keeps the University of Georgia from going back to back to back? That's what the nature of the beast is here, Matt Green. Is all of that fair as I move over to talk to you about how many games it's going to take before Carson Beck is no longer QB1 at the University of Georgia?
Wow. First of all, with 4 minutes left in the second quarter, it was 14-0.
No, he scored in that 4 minutes.
Scored around 4 minutes.
That's what I'm saying, yeah.
But do they stop playing football games with 4 minutes left in the second quarter? Or do they play all 60 minutes? And over 60 minutes, I mean, I just look at the final box score, right? Mm-hmm. The score was 48-7, and Georgia had 559 yards of total offense. Like, I want to tell these Georgia fans that are, if these quote unquote these Georgia fans you talk about that are so displeased, Georgia's not going to win 65-7 every game like they did against TCU in the national championship. It's not going to happen. So if we're disappointed about 48-7, like we're doing something wrong. It also should have been 48-0 because that touchdown that they caught in the corner of the end zone, the guy with the one hand, it was great effort, but he was definitely bobbling it and then went out of bounds. So it should have been 48-0. But regardless, it's 48-7. Alabama won 56-7. It's like almost the exact same score, but they made some big plays on offense. So we're like, yes, Alabama, we're sure. Jalen Milroe's the guy. I don't feel like you can really learn anything in these cupcake games anyway. It's one of the reasons I kind of hate these cupcake games is because, yeah, maybe they did keep it vanilla. Like maybe this, maybe that. It's like, we know these players are supposed to get up for every game, right? It's the first game of the season. You just know they don't get up for these games the same way they do for a big-time conference game or something. Like, so if anything, like the first half, like, yeah, Georgia's offense definitely got started slow. It was just like, it was just no real rhythm to the offense. But, I mean, things got going, and Carson Beck was like, what was he, 21 of 31, like close to 300 yards, right? Like he had a fine game, you know, like he wasn't like great. Georgia, like if we're judging them at the standard, like are they clearly the best team in the country? Like they were voted in the preseason. Like I'm not sure they're the clear number one, but after this week, like I'm not like Alabama blowing out Middle Tennessee State, Ohio State really struggling with Indiana. Like I don't think they're those two teams are better. Like Michigan, well, what was Michigan, like 30-3, like against whatever cupcake they played? It's like
Hold
not
on,
like
their
they
head
put up a
coach
huge.
wasn't there. They
Yeah, of
sacrificed the
course.
whole down by
Free
doing an I
Harbaugh.
formation.
Free Harbaugh of this self-imposed suspension. But it's like they scored 30 points. Like Georgia's offense scored 41. They did have the pick six, but it's like like the offense put up numbers. Like they were moving the ball. Like it was not at the ease level that it should be. I think if anything that you're probably worried about, it's like, why is the offensive line not just dominating UT Martin on the ground? Like, why are we not able to just run at will on that team? Like that was a weakness in the game. But like the people wanting to talk about Mike Bobo, it's like those people didn't want Mike Bobo hired to begin with and thought he was a bad OC back in 2012. So I don't know if you thought Mike Bobo was a bad OC in 2012. I'm not really sure what Georgia offense you were watching. So those people weren't really satisfied at the time. So I mean, yeah, whatever. They're not satisfied with 48-7 versus UT Martin. Like I don't know what to say. I don't know what to say to those people.
I have some other stuff here. So look, they punted on 3 of their first 4 drives. Beck, like you mentioned, 21-31 for 294 total, 2 TDs. It was really the Brock Bowers show. If you go back through and watch this, it's really the Georgia offense should be just find Brock Bowers because he's impossible to tackle. Like I lost track how many times he bounced off just people like hitting him and he just moves over. It's extremely disrespectful the way Brock Bowers goes about his
that's
business.
my biggest criticism is not getting Brock Bowers the ball just every like 3 or 4 plays.
How does he not have 13 targets a game?
That was a criticism I had for Todd Monken too. So it's like Brock Bowers should just be getting fed like a running back. Like he should get the ball 10 to 15 times like every single game. He's that good. But I don't know. There's kind of this just revisionist history that Todd Monken, like this offense just never had any sort of weaknesses at all. Like the Kent State game, there was a lot of criticism after the Kent State, the Missouri game last year. Like there's times that the offense didn't look great, but I mean, they scored 48 points. Like it's funny to me that we're talking about offensive struggles.
They're 44th in pass offense per Pro Football Focus after this game. But here's the thing that I think ultimately matters to Georgia the most, and why, if you're a Georgia fan, like no matter what, you're gonna be fine. They're second in pass pro per PFF through week 1. He had all day to throw. And I understand CT Martin, but you look at that offensive line, you look at the bodies, you look at the size, you look at the blue chip ratio, they're going to be really effing good on the offensive line. Like, that's just going to be a thing. And maybe if you're a Georgia fan, you look at like Kendall Milton. Hey, he looked good. And if he can stay healthy, that's nice. And they're a little bit thin at running back, more thin than they've been in years past. But like, offensive line matters so much in this sport that whether it's Carson, Beck, Gunnar Stockton, Brock Vandegrift, it doesn't matter. Clean pockets help so much with these quarterbacks, especially new quarterbacks that are trying to get situated. So he's not going to be running around like Jaden Daniels or Spencer Rattler under duress anytime soon because this offensive line's legit. Like that's the biggest thing. I
think it's also telling that Brock Vandegrift and Gunnar Stockton both looked really good when they came in the game. And despite the offense's like slow struggles to start in the first, second quarter, like there's no even like talk of those guys coming in for Carson Beck. Like I think that shows that Carson Beck is truly the number 1, and there's not it's not really even close. Like even though fans, obviously we want to see what happens in real live game action, but if you're not even getting one of those guys a look while the offense is kind of slow early on, to me that says Carson Beck is the clear number 1. So I don't know. You think Carson Beck's not gonna stay the starter?
I don't know. Like, it's just so hard. It's so early. I mean, we've seen it. It's not like JT Daniels just held on to the job from the beginning to the end, and Jamie Newman,
barring injury,
or what's his name? DeJuan Mathis. I mean, we've seen it before in the last couple of years at Georgia. It's not like
DeJuan Mathis didn't hold on for 2 whole quarters.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, I'm just saying it's not unprecedented that they go a different direction, especially a quarterback room that is as loaded as Georgia and as much competition that Georgia has. That, like, I don't know. It wouldn't blow my mind. I wouldn't bet on it that they go a different way. But, like, would it surprise me if Carson struggles more, or Carson gets banged up and they go to a different hot hand and he's just better, and they just ride that and Carson never gets back in the lineup? No, that wouldn't surprise me at all, if that's the way Georgia operated. So I don't know. we'll see. I think we won't learn anything for a while. Let's see what he looks like against South Carolina in a couple weeks and go from there. But I don't know. I think it's not a real problem, but I just welcome the return of Georgia fans, a large subset of Georgia fans, upset at the return of Mike Bobo because they are going to blame any and all struggles, as Graham Coffey tweeted out, where he said 30 minutes into the new season, and the word Bobo has appeared in my mentions roughly 100 times. It's not going anywhere. Fans are going to be upset about this for the foreseeable future.
I'm a Georgia fan, and I love Georgia fans, but their track record on some of these things isn't necessarily the best. Like, I heard a lot of things
turning
about
against your own kind.
There's a lot of narratives out there about Kirby Smart and getting out of the way of the offensive coordinator and all kinds of just things. And Kirby Smart's basically proved everything anyone's ever said about him wrong. So I just trust. I trust, if anything, Georgia fans, if we can all agree on anything, it should be that you should probably just trust that Kirby Smart knows what the hell he's doing.
Somebody on Twitter, Georgia Dog 34, calling a draw play with 20 seconds left and no timeout is why everyone hates Mike Bobo as OC.
That is the one play of like the whole game that it's like I hate being the armchair quarterback that's like secondhand play calling. Like, yeah, draw play. Everyone loves to criticize the draw play. Like Georgia hasn't run the hell out of some draw plays to success at times too, and hitting on screen passes. It's like Todd Monken was killing screen passes all day. Like, so it's hilarious the things that fans choose to criticize for and criticize specifically Mike Bobo. But to get it down inside the 5 with like 15, 20 seconds left and with no timeouts and to call a run play and then have to spike it on second down is just that was a head scratcher. And then you get one shot at the end zone and it's an incomplete pass. So that made absolutely no sense. You should have had 3 shots at the end zone at least at that point in the game. But these are the things we're complaining about in a 48-7 game. So this is the standard that Georgia's at, and obviously it's more of a compliment than anything that people are upset about a 48-7 victory against a no-name team.
Well, another big victory, UT manhandled Virginia on Saturday afternoon. I don't know if you watched any of this, Macarene, but James Pierce is a dude on the edge. He is going to be a really good player for Tennessee. True sophomore, has had all the talent in the world, and he took full advantage of that Leo spot today. And Tennessee is able to rotate. Their third down pass rush of Tyler Barron, Omar Norman-Lott, and Omari Thomas.
How many times did we
James
say
Pierce.
cheetah during this broadcast? They were all about this.
Well, here's the thing, and this is something that I talked about on the Go Big Orange recap show earlier today. Here's the difference that I think Tennessee fans are not going to like.